Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Swordsoul deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck this format. It's super fun to be able to play, and with Denlong back off the ban list, this deck has some absolutely crazy plays. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name screenshot in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Moyi. Moyi is one of the best cards in the entire deck and helps us make so many plays. All of your main deck Swordsoul monsters generate tokens on your side of the field that are tuner tokens, which are going to help you go in for synchro plays. And this card is awesome in helping you go for level 8 synchro plays. This card is awesome because when it's normal or special summon, you reveal any Swordsoul or worm monster in your hand, and you get to special summon out a Swordsoul token to your side of the field, which is really awesome. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you also get to draw a card, which is amazing that you get a boss monster like a copy of Grandmaster, and you get to draw a card. We then play 3 copies of Longyun. Longyun is amazing as a 3-of because this card helps us go in for our level 10 synchro plays. You can discard one of their Swordsoul card or a worm monster to special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, special summon out a Swordsoul token to your side of the field, which is amazing to help you go for level 10 synchro plays like Baron de Fleur. This card is such a powerful card to be able to use in the deck because it has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent, which is great to do that little bit of burn damage. We then play just 2 copies of Taiye. Taiye is awesome as a 2-of, but you really only need 2 copies of Taiye in this build. It has the ability to banish a Swordsoul or a worm monster from your graveyard to special summon out a Swordsoul token to your side of the field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can send a Swordsoul card or a worm monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect because some of our cards actually really want to be in the graveyard. We then play 2 copies of Ecclesia. I feel like 2 is totally fine for this build. This card is basically a Cyber Dragon that if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then during your main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card to special summon out a Swordsoul monster to your side of the field from your hand or deck, which is a really good effect to just instantly get one of your Swordsoul monsters on your side of the field, like a copy of your Moyi. We then play, for the Tenyi monsters, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ashuna. Ashuna is really good as a 3-of in the deck because all of your Tenyi monsters share a common ability, and if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon them from your hand, which is a really good effect to be able to do. And then if you control a face-up non-effect monster, then you can banish them from your hand or graveyard to be able to get unique effects. This card's awesome unique effect is that you get to special summon a Tenyi monster from your deck, except another copy of this card, but this card does have a little bit of a downside that you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except worm monsters, which the majority of this deck is worm monsters anyways, but that is an effect you have to watch out for with this card. We then play 3 copies of Vishuda. Vishuda is awesome and one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. This card has a super unique effect. It can actually target 1 card that your opponent controls and return it back to the hand by banishing this card from your hand or graveyard while you control a face-up non-effect monster, which is great to use this card as a bounce. We then play 3 copies of Adahara. Adahara is awesome as a 3-of in the deck. I really love this card as a 3-of because it is a level 1 tuner monster that can help you get into some serious synchro plays and climb through your plays. This card is great as a 3-of in the deck and just a really good extender. You can also recover some of your Tenyi cards, which is really good because you can manage this card from your hand or graveyard and then target one of your banished worm monsters, except another copy of this card, and add it back to your hand, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Shathana. Shathana is just really good in this deck as a 1-of. I love this card because it's a great level 4 to be able to play in the deck that you can special summon to your side of the field. And it's just an awesome card because a face-up non-effect monster that you control is destroyed by battle by card effect. You manage this card from your hand or graveyard and then target one of those destroyed monsters and special summon it, and then destroy 1 monster that your opponent controls, which is great to be able to work with your copy of Monk of the Tenyi. We then play, for some of the Yang Xing cards we're playing in the deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Chiwen. I have considered bumping this card down to 1, but I feel like 2 is just really good and just super consistent in this particular deck. This card is awesome in this particular build because when this card you control is destroyed battle by card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon a Yangzing monster from your deck, except another copy of this card, which all of your Yangzing monsters share that common effect. And this card also has the ability when a Yangzing monster you control is destroyed by battle by card effect and sent to the graveyard, while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. If you do, banish it when it leaves the field, which is a really good effect to be able to use with this card to just instantly get this card back onto your side of the field. We then play a single copy of the Earth of the Yangzing. I feel like one is fine in this deck. This card is really good because you can actually go for Herald of Arclight using this and Chi-Wen, which is amazing. And you can even doing it during your opponent's turn because this card is a quick synchro summon effect to be able to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, which is a really good effect. And the monster that's synchro summoned using this card cannot be destroyed by battle, so you actually get a Herald of Arclight that cannot be destroyed by battle, which is really insane. This card is amazing in this deck. We then play 2 copies of the Apple Dragon. Apple Dragon is just an awesome extender in this deck because you are generating a lot of tokens that are non-effect monsters on your side of the field. So you can special summon this card from your hand really easily to your side of the field, and it's an awesome extender that can actually help you go in for your copy of Baron de Fleur to protect your place from cards like Nibiru, which is really good. This card has a great effect as well because it actually generates a token on your side of the field that can be treated as a tuner, which is just amazing to be able to do in the deck. Because it has the ability if a face-up non-effect monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then during your main phase, if you synchro summon this turn, you can manage this card from your graveyard and then special summon out a 100 Apples token. It's a Worm, Light, level 2, 100 attack and 100 defense. And the player who summoned it can treat it as a tuner for a synchro summon, which is a really good effect to be able to use on this card. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. The Ash Blossoms are just really good in the deck to be able to stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it's a great hand trap this format. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Swordsoul Sacred Summit. This card is basically Monster Reborn, and it is searchable in the deck, which is why I play this card as a one-of in the build. We're then playing 2 copies of Pot of Desires. This card is amazing in the deck. You play everything that you need at 3 in this deck. The only card that you're playing at like 2 and 1 is the Yangzing cards, but you really want to be able to get to those cards before you activate Desires anyways. So this card is just a free draw 2 in this build, so this card is amazing in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. This card is amazing in the deck. I really like this card because it's a Foolish Burial for the deck, and it's super helpful in this particular build because there's some of your Tenyi monsters that you want to get in the graveyard, and even your Yangzing cards really like to be in the graveyard in the deck, so this card is just amazing in this particular build as a 2-of. We then play 3 copies of Swordsoul Emergence. This is the Rhoda for your Swordsoul monsters. You're usually searching Moyi if you don't already have it. Long Yun is the second best pick, followed by Taiye. But this card is great in the deck to be able to get to your copies of Moyi extremely quickly, so you can start going in for your synchro plays. And this card is just amazing as a 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is just really good at stopping your opponent's monster effects. You can actually lock down entire columns of spells and traps with this card, which is what makes this card so good. I absolutely love this card as a hand trap in the deck, and it's just super powerful in this build. We're then playing a single copy of Swordsoul Blackout. Blackout is amazing. This card is basically Icarus attack. If you target a warrior monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them, which is amazing to be able to pop 2 cards on the field. It's absolutely amazing as a 2-of or 1-of in the deck to be able to pop 2 cards on the field. We then play a single copy of 9 Pillars of the Yangzing. This is the counter trap that we can actually search off of Denlong, which is amazing that this deck finally has a counter trap and has access to a searchable counter trap. And when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated and you control a Yangzing card, negate the activation, and if you do, shuffle that card back in the deck. Then destroy a Yangzing card that you control, which is amazing that you're going to be able to use this card and basically protect yourself from all sorts of different plays that your opponent might throw at you while you're trying to establish your board. And it's just a really good thing to be able to use, especially against cards like Dark Ruler No More. This card is just really amazing. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Grandmaster. Grandmaster is basically like a walking effect veiler, and this card is amazing in the deck, because if this card is Synchro Summon, you can add to your hand or banish 1 Swordsoul card from your deck, which is amazing to be able to search out cards like Summit to be able to use as a Monster Reborn, or if you're looking for that follow-up play during the opponent's turn, you can search out cards like Blackout, or even if you want to search, you can search out cards like Emergence, which is amazing. So this card is a definite 2-of in the deck. It also has the ability to quick effect, you can banish a Swordsoul card or a Worm monster from your hand or grave, and then target 1 other effect monster on the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card as a walking negate. We then play a single copy of the Supreme Sovereign. This card gets absolutely massive on the field, and it's a definite 1 of the deck, especially comboing with your copy of Desires. It's going to make your opponent's monsters get really small and make our monster get really big. This card is crazy powerful in the deck, and it's really good once you resolve that copy of Desires. We then play a single copy of Sinister Sovereign. This card does 2400 burn damage, and it also has a crazy powerful effect that if you Synchro Summon another Worm monster while this card is on the field, you actually get to draw a card, which is a really good effect about this card, and it's just really amazing that if your opponent special summons a monster, then you can banish one of those monsters, and if you do 1200 points of damage to your opponent. And when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, quick effect, you can banish that card, and if you do 1200 points of damage to your opponent. So this card can actually do 2400 points of damage, and since you're going to use Long Yun to go into this card, it's going to do like 3600 points of damage just with this card, which is absolutely amazing combo with your copy of Long Yun. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is amazing as a 1 of the deck to be able to put on your side of the field as a walking negate. You can also pop cards on the field, which is extremely useful. And then play a single copy of Chao Fang. Chao Fang is just really good to light lock our opponent, and it's a really good card in this deck. We then play a single copy of Draco Berserker. Draco Berserker is amazing in this deck as a 1-of, just as a crazy powerful boss monster. 2 copies of Baxia. Baxia is just really insane in the deck. You can bounce cards on the field, and it's amazing in the deck. And when this card is Synchro Summon, you can target cards on the field up to the number of different original attributes of Worm monsters used for this card Synchro Summon, and then shuffle them into the deck. And once per turn, you can target 1 card you control and a level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard and destroy that card on the field if you use special summon that monster from the graveyard to your side of the field. So it's a really good card to be able to tag your cards out. And then play a single copy of Yazi. Yazi is just really good in the deck and just an awesome extender in the deck, and also it can pop cards on the field, which is just really nice. And then play a single copy of Danglong. Danglong is crazy that this card is back at 1. I'm absolutely insane about this card. This card is so good. It's such a good card because it can search the counter trap, because if this card is special summon, you can add a Yangzing card from your deck to your hand. And once per turn, you can send a Worm monster from your deck to the graveyard, and this card's level becomes the sent monster's level. So you can actually level manipulate itself with Worm monsters, and it's a walking Foolish Burial, which is just really good. And if this face-up card leaves the field by any means, you can special summon a Yangzing monster from your deck, and it's a tuner. This card literally does everything for your deck, and I'm super excited this card is back, and it's super good in this deck. And then my single copy of the Herald of the Arclight. It's a walking negate, and it's crazy because any monster sent from the hand or the main deck to the graveyard is banished instead, which is a great effect to be able to use, and it's just really insane that this card is a walking negate. We then play a single copy of Shaman. Shaman's great in the deck, but it does lock you, which is a little bit of a downside into Tenyi monsters, but that's not that big of a deal because we summon this card every so often. But it's still a really good card because you can discard 1 card, target a Worm monster in the graveyard, and special summon it, but it does lock you into special summoning Tenyi monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal, but it's a really good card in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Monk of the Tenyi. Monk is really good in the deck as a 2-of to help you get your Tenyi monsters in the graveyard, but also to give you a non-effect monster on your side of the field so you can actually activate your Tenyi monsters' effects. So this card is just a really good 2-of. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have not played Swordsoul before, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's extremely powerful now that we have Danglong back, and it's a really good deck to be able to play this format. It's super fun, and it just has some absolutely crazy plays now, especially with us having Apple Dragon and Danglong. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.